So I was beginning to act a bit strange, said my friends. I kept forgetting where I'd left my car and bumping into things, and I had a couple of bumps in my car. And a friend of mine said, "You've been acting very strange. I think we need to get you checked out with the doctor." I said, no, I don't do doctors. I'm not going to the doctors. And she bundled me in her car and off I went. And I had a brain scan, and the doctors, this is at Cambridge University in England, said, you have a massive brain tumour and it's inoperable. It's in the centre of your head, and the prognosis is not good. You probably won't be around very long. And they actually gave me 3 weeks. So I had to deal with that, and that was the diagnosis that came in. The doctor sort of kindly gave it to me, and I felt I'm writing my book about this story, and I've just been writing this chapter at the moment this morning about. It felt like I was in a movie. It felt like I was appearing in a scene in a movie. It actually wasn't my life. And I had no fear. Even at that stage, I had no fear. I heard the diagnosis. I'm a mum, and so I didn't want to die. I'm not sure anyone really wants to die, but I definitely didn't. I felt I had many things to do. So I just received the news and processed it slowly, thinking, okay, how do we get out of this? And I'm very solutions type character, and I just thought, I need to get out of this. And I spent many years working on mind technologies. I'd written about it a lot. I did a lot of work around different modalities of mental transformation. So I knew that how I managed my thoughts about it would be very important to how this thing would play out. I saw it actually the direct opposite to that. I thought, if I only have a short period of time left to live, I'm going to make sure I really enjoy it, and I'm going to make the most of every moment. And so that gave me gratitude for where I was and the life I'd already lived, and it gave me a mindful approach to the fact that I needed to really be present with everything that was happening in my life, so that I could lap it up and enjoy it. If this was the last bit of my life, I'm not going to go out miserable. No way. I want to go out feeling happy and having said all the things I want to say to people. I love you. Thank you. All these things. So for me, it was a strange time. I was very hyper during my illness. I was talking very fast. I was having lots of ideas. It was like my mental filters had just opened, and I didn't have the normal filters. I was writing, I was in the middle of writing, I just had a book deal for my creativity book, and I knew I wanted to write that. And I remember calling up the publisher and saying, "Oh, hi there. I'm in hospital with brain cancer, but I'm going to get the book written. Don't worry. I've got my family bringing in my laptop, and I'm going to be writing it." I know they were thinking, "Oh my gosh, we'll never see this book." But what happened was I became very creative. I was full of ideas. I was full of passion for life, which is not what you'd expect from someone in their dying bed, I guess. And I was kind of infuriating the people around me. They were, "Does she not get it? Does she not understand that she's dying?" Yeah, I really did. And I had a philosophy of life that you just have to really deal with what you have and make the most of that. I'm well aware there are many people in the world going through terrific challenges and difficulties right now. And as human, we have incredible inner fortitude for dealing with stuff and dealing with challenges. My fortitude really came in, and I was already a meditator. I'd meditated a lot for, about 15 years. I did TM meditation. I worked a lot with the David Lynch Foundation that gets meditation out to the world. So I believed in it as a tool. And it was actually when I sat on my hospital bed and I began to meditate, and I had this very clear voice that came to me in my mind, and it said, it told me that I was going to die that day. And I went and told my nurses. I stopped my meditation, got off my bed, went to see my nurses who had their nurses station. They were having a meeting, and I interrupted, and I went, "I'm really sorry to interrupt. But would you keep an eye on me because I think I'm going to die today? And they said, no, Susie, of course we're keeping an eye on you anyway, but don't worry, we've got you. So I went back to my bed and I sat down in my meditation position, closed my eyes and connected. And then I felt this kind of whoosh inside myself. I felt my spirit really wanting to swirl and get out of my body and go out through the top of my head, which is what I felt happened. It swirled. My spirit kind of left my bag of bones, and I was above myself looking down. I could see myself, and I knew that I was out of my body. I knew that I was traveling in this huge cosmos space. It felt like flying. It was like a Hollywood movie. I was flying through the universe like Superwoman, but not in my body. When I say me, I'm talking about my spirit, not my body. And I just was free. I was free of my skin and bones, and I was a free spirit. And it's funny because since I was a little girl, I've always kept saying, I'm a free spirit, I'm a free spirit, I'm independent, I'm a free spirit. And then I was a free spirit in the ether. And people often say, how long did it take? There is no time up there. There is no time. I say up there because it is up. Time is a construct that is the human construct that we use here on planet Earth, but everything is infinite. The scope is infinite, possibilities are infinite, and so is time. So I was on this journey of being out of my body, and I was being shown a lot of things, and I was aware that I was being shown these things, and I had already had a visitation in when I was having a brain scan by I call it a flock of golden angels. For many people that's hard, perhaps from a belief system's point of view, but it was a golden orb that came around me, and I got the very clear message from these messengers, let's call them, saying you're going to have 3 scans. One is really bad, expect that. The second one improved, much improved. Third one, clear. You're going to get out of this. And so I took this as my truth. I took this, I didn't question it. I didn't go, oh, what if that's not true? No, I believed it. So I was in the process of going, and I also asked when this golden orb arrived, why am I going through this very big story? And they said, because you're a writer and you have a platform and we want you to write a book. And there will be a film, and this will inspire many, many people around the world around what death is and what living is, living and dying, and you will return and write the story. So I kind of knew that was the trajectory, and that all made sense to me. So as I was out of my body, I was clearly collecting data for coming back. And then I got a very clear question given to me, which was, do you want to come back? And this is a one-time choice. It was like a one-time passcode, which only lasted a short amount of time. I said, yes. In my mind, I was, yes. And I made the choice. I made the intention to come back. And at that moment, poof, there's this white flash, God, if you like, or whatever you like to call it, source, white flash. And I was back in my body. I then had a scan, another scan, shortly after this. And I didn't really tell the doctors about this because it seemed too wild, and I did not want to get pumped with medication and sent to the psychiatric ward as she's gone crazy. So I was sensible enough to know not to put this story out there. Although I did tell a couple of close friends privately about it. So I came back, and when I was back in my body and the next scan showed fully clear, and the doctor came in, he's a very experienced oncologist in Cambridge University. He came in and he said, I don't really have any explanation for this. And he said, actually, this looks like a miracle, but we don't talk about miracles in the medical world, but this does look like one. And there's no scarring, which is very strange. We would have expected it's growing. And I said, well, I am in the business of miracles, and this makes complete sense to me. And everyone was just excited and bemused and blown away that I had this all clear result. It was extraordinary. And I knew nothing about near-death experience. I didn't know the word, I didn't know the term, didn't know anything about it until after all of this. And I began to research and look at kind of some explanations for what happened. As soon as I started looking at Dr. Raymond Moody's books and even Alexander, and I began to start reading, I was like, oh, right, this is it. This is exactly what happened. And it then began to make sense, because before that, it had just been this wild experience that I had no reference point for. I had no way of pinning it or describing it or being able to share it with anyone. But actually at the time, I wasn't trying to theoretically work it out. I was just happy to be back. I was happy to be with my son. And my son and I were really the only two who believed that I wasn't going to die. Everyone else believed I was going to die. The people around me in my room before this were sort of somber-faced, and a lawyer was called. I had to write a will and all of this sort of thing. It was full on. But that was to be my story. And I knew that it was an extraordinary story. And I didn't tell anyone for years, probably 3 years before I started speaking about it. But the opinions of people around is often distracting, and it can, if we're a very expansive type of people who like to think outside of the box, we are never going to be in the crowd of thinking. We're going to, the leading edge of thought is always quiet. There are not many people there. And this topic is becoming more and more talked about now, which is great. But when this happened, 18, let's say, it wasn't really, I wasn't aware of anything. But now I've just been asked to do a movie in America, go to New York and talk about the story, because there's a big Netflix movie going to be made about this kind of topic. So it is more mainstream. I'm not sure there were films being made about it in that way, at that level before. So it's much more of a mainstream topic now, thank goodness. And it does raise questions about what is death, what is life, what is on the other side. And I think I can share some interesting stuff about what happens when you die. And I want to give I am a very optimistic person, clearly, anyway. I learned to think in the positive. I worked with NLP creator, Dr. Bandler. For many years, I was managing director of his company. And I'd learned very clearly the power of the way we think about things, how we code things, the linguistics we use to talk about things, the narrative we use, the kind of words we choose. These all have an energy and a power that create. So I was well aware that I had to keep an eye on the stories I was telling to make sure that I had a good outcome. And I still do that. I still am very careful about what I say, because the power of words, I'm a writer, so I love words. The power of words and our voice, the frequency and the vibration that we carry in our bodies, which come directly from our thoughts and our emotions. This is all very important stuff. We are not taught about this in school, and yet it's one of the most fundamental, most important areas that we could possibly learn about, way better than a geography lesson or a history lesson or all this other stuff that kids are taught. No, teach kids about the fact that we are frequency and energy beings, and that our thoughts are powerful, and that our words really create. So we have to tell ourselves and other people nice things. It's very important. And I see politicians squabbling and talking about the enemies and things. The enemy, I have no construct for the enemy. We are all part of this collective. We're all part of an energetic collective. And for me, I'm not looking at another person who happens to live in a different place in the world or have a different belief system around God or whatever it is as the enemy. No, it's ludicrous. And I'd hope that in a short space of time, these ideas will infiltrate and become part of mainstream cultural understanding, because at the moment they are not. I don't listen to the news. I really am not interested in putting down my vibration from listening to all this horrible stuff that goes out. But I'm aware that people talk about, we have to go to war, we have to win this, and we have to kill people to make it clear about whatever the message is they want to get clear about. It's crazy. We should not be killing anyone. So my life since the near-death experience has completely changed. My relationship with all living things, I bring compassion and love to everything, which sounds very grandiose. It's absolutely true. When you've had this kind of macro experience and view of us on this little planet Earth that rotates and rolls around suns and stars and galaxies, we're tiny little specks, and it does reinforce the idea that we have to have respect and responsibility to every living thing, because it's part of all of us. And if we hurt someone else, we're hurting ourselves. That's it.
So you've mentioned earlier what you have learned and how your life has changed since the NDE and coming back. Now, if you were to distill those learnings into a few lessons that we could take from that, what are the things that you knew worked and you continued doing? And what are maybe some of the things in your previous life before the NDE that you thought, well, this isn't serving me, so I'm going to let this go moving forward?
So my new book that I'm writing right now is all about the storytelling of what happened and also the outtakes, the things I learned about life. One of the things, there are many parts to this answer. One of them is that we are here, we're meant to be happy, we're meant to be enjoying our lives. We're not meant to be stressed, overworked, overwhelmed, and feeling crushed. That's not how we're meant to be. Or being mean to each other or having fights. It's not how we're meant to be. We're meant to be happy, upbeat, feeling good, and living a good, simple life. That's what we're meant to be doing. So since my NDE, I'm aiming for some simplicity. And I'm aiming for putting my attention onto the things that I want to increase and take my attention away from things I don't want in my life. So that's a conscious decision around what I'm watching, taking my eyes off the news, never switching on the news. I don't want that kind of, because the news is just fear-based communication the whole time. I don't want that. I'm much better served, and I can have a much better life for me and for others and do good work if I'm not being pulled down by that kind of narrative. So I choose very carefully what I watch, what kind of films I watch, what kind of podcasts I listen to, all of these things. And I choose ones that are going to uplift and interest me and excite me and make me wonder about things and make me curious. That's what I want to be doing. I also have had no fear since I came back. I have no fear of death, no fear of anything. I don't mind what people say about me, and that's liberating, to say the least. I just don't. It doesn't matter. I've had plenty of people go, oh, how do we know? I'm not forcing this story. I'm just sharing my experience, and to people who are interested and want to listen, I don't need to prove anything. It's funny how people often want to get into a fight about this, about what did I experience? How do we know she's telling the truth? We don't, but I am telling the truth. So it's made me much more reflective, go slower, go deeper in life, appreciate life, and tune to nature. I'm a big fan now of nature. Before talking to you, I was outside walking in the flowers that are springing up in the farm where I live, and just looking at the flowers very, very carefully and being wowed by them. If you zoom right into a flower and you see the beautiful shape of the little petals, and then within it the middle part of the flower, how ornate with sacred geometry that is. Wow. And so if that can be created, and in the field outside there must be tens of thousands of these little daisy flowers, how can that be? So nature is blowing me away. Talking about frequency, when you're in nature, you have a different, you find a frequency that is in tune with the world that's out there. So it's a great way of increasing the frequency of the cells and the body by being in nature, being around the sea, being around trees, feeling them. They're huge networks of trees that run under the ground and have this amazing system. And plants where this communication between plants and trees is phenomenal. So I'm kind of tuning to that a lot and getting really clear on the fact that I am nature, I'm part of nature, I am nature, and that we all correspond to similar rules and principles and laws, as above, so below, and so on. And the rhythms and the cycles of life is very appealing to me. And to honour that, really, to honour the different seasons and to be different in those seasons. And some seasons are for lying low and being cosy and being warm and not doing too much. Others, energizing sunshine, you're running around, you're getting in, you're busy outdoors and so on. Just honouring that and the shedding of the leaves, the times when the plants know what they're doing and the animals know what they're doing. They go to bed when it gets dark and they get up when it's light. And the plants know when to shed their leaves and grow new ones, just as if it was magic. And for me, life is pretty magical. I really do feel that. So I have a different perspective now on life. I see us as all connected. I see us as magical beings. I also think we have a great deal of potential inside ourselves that we really don't tap into enough. I think we have infinite potential for things. And again, if we meditate on that and think about that and feel about that, that's an awesome feeling, to feel like we can actually do anything if we decide to, and if we put our belief systems to work in that way. So looking at it through this lens, life becomes very exciting. And making sure that you hang out around good people who are talking a good game. Don't be around people who deplete you and pull down the energy. If I walk into a room and I'm not feeling it, I will leave. And I just gently, graciously will quietly remove myself, because my frequency is everything. I want to be in a good space, surrounded by good people, not gossiping, not bad conversations and things like this. No. I want to be around uplifting ideas and conversations. So that has made my relationships different, my friendships different, and my behaviors different, actually.
What if you were told you will only live 3 weeks? And I would invite everybody in the audience to think about how they would react in such a situation. And even though it may seem, when you see such a title, it may seem very sad and very dense, your talk was very uplifting. So I definitely recommend watching the talk for everybody who hasn't seen it yet. But I want to ask you, for anybody that is going through a difficult diagnosis right now, and we know rates of cancer, of heart disease are at an all-time high in the US, in the UK, in the Western world essentially. So I can only imagine, by reading the comments as well, there's so many people struggling with perhaps a similar diagnosis.
Well, there's a few things to talk about from that. One is that food is really important. I make sure to eat organic, grow my own food actually, because there are so many pesticides and chemicals on food these days in the food chain. US particularly, I understand, is not good, hasn't got a good track record. Crops are sprayed with things that kill bugs, and we're ingesting that. So I think cleaning up the food. When I was in hospital, I insisted on really good food, not to eat the hospital food, because that was processed, dead food, microwaved, awful. And I said, if I eat this, I'm going to die, I'm telling you. And my friends were kind enough, they bring in food parcels and healthy food every day. And that was a big part of my recovery. So I think we have to stop the things that are causing a lot of the diseases, which is the food, the quality of the food. It is stress and trauma in everyday life that is prevalent for so many people. Reducing stress is really important. Stress on the body is not your friend. It's the thing that really drives trouble on the cellular level. So I think to be aware of that, to have practices like walking out in nature, like meditating, like gratitude, journaling, anything that can allow you to raise your, all of these things will raise your frequency, to allow you to do that on a regular basis and make it part of your self-care. And in fact, have some self-care. Many people don't have anything in their days. I love a plan and I love a routine. So I write, I meditate every day. I eat probably the same food most days that's healthy, colourful, fresh, just out the ground, often with mud on it because the soil is so good. It's full of microbiome, things that help our gut. So making an effort around, and not to put chemicals on the body. I don't use a lot of face creams and things like that. I use natural stuff. I use almond oils and things like this. I don't want to put on expensive chemicals on my face that then my skin has to deal with. So all of these kind of things, just taking care and giving yourself the attention and love that you deserve by increasing your self-care. And the clothes you wear, making sure that their fabrics are good for your body and so on. The kind of where you sleep, making sure that that's clean and air with good air, and it goes on and on. Everything in your life, just making sure that you're mindful about it and bringing the attention and awareness back to what we're ingesting or putting onto our bodies. And I think that's again another thing. There isn't a waking up happening around this, but I think we could intensify that and increase that for health. It's really important. There has never been so much disease. There's never been so much mental health issues in kids, across the population. So we have to go, hang on a minute, what is this? What is this? And relaxing with education, not driving children to upset and fear and stress from tests and exams and all this thing. Forget it. Teach them about the power of using this positively, thinking well, feeling well, speaking well, being kind to each other. Kindness, compassion and love to each other. All of these things will help navigate through this pandemic we have of illness. And it's not about reaching for the pharmaceuticals and the chemicals. I like to use nature's medicine, which is good food, and there's herbs for everything out there in the garden. Use those. And I think I'm not keen on chemicals, drugs that are chemically based. I'd rather use natural stuff and work out why have I got that headache. Okay, I need to slow it down, or I need to think better, or I need to drink water more, or whatever it is. But yeah, you get the idea.
What do you have to be grateful for, Susie? How would you have answered this?
My son. springs to mind my family. My family and friends were amazing. They really came in, they created community groups, look after all aspects of my life. And they were so wonderful. And I had great memories. You know, I had a wonderful life. I was living a very fast, high octane life in the 90s. I was looking after big pop bands and Madonna and Michael Jackson and the Spice Girls. And I had a full-on, really intense life. But even though it looked really glamorous on the outside, yeah, I was flying to New York and LA and doing MTV Awards and all of that. The back end, you know, I was kind of disconnected. I was feeling sad. Couldn't keep up with friends because I was always flying around here, there and everywhere. So it's important to take a pause, take a stop and just have a look at what's going on and seeing what's really working for you, and most importantly, what isn't working for you, and make some good decisions around your lifestyle. We decide who we have relationships with, the kind of things we get involved with, the kind of work that we do. We decide that. So make sure that all your decisions about these important things are good ones. Good decisions on the macro level, who you get married to, all of these things, and the tiny level of what am I going to have in my tea today? You know, is it going to be something that is not good for me, or is it going to be lemon and turmeric and ginger and whole water and honey or something? That's a good decision. For example, we have about 70,000 thoughts a day. And for many people, it's kind of good to do an audit on your thoughts. How many thoughts a day do you have that are negative? How many thoughts a day do you have that are positive? Just notice that and make a shift towards, you know, which way. So bringing awareness really to how we're treating ourselves is so important. Not all our thoughts are true. They are driven by our belief systems. If we believe we're in danger, if we believe that we're going to be hard done by or someone's going to do us wrong, that will lead the thoughts. Now, a good mantra you might want to consider is, I am not my thoughts. Repeat that and see how it lands. I am not my thoughts. Now, this provides a very healthy distance between oneself, the spirit, let's call it, for want of a better word, and the content that runs through here. And you can watch a movie and be triggered into sadness, delight, laughter, all the range of emotions just by watching a movie. So you're watching the story play out, it's hitting the brain is processing and having a thought, a feeling, and so on about this content that's coming in. None of it is real, actually, and it feels real, but it isn't. The thoughts come in and go out. I find the best tool for handling management of thoughts and realizing you are not your thoughts is meditation. It gives a beautiful container for being able to really, really understand that thoughts come in. And one of the techniques when you learn meditation, there are many different types of meditation, but one of the ways that it's taught in meditation, the beginning, is to notice when thoughts come in, and often there'll be a lot of thoughts coming in. You just let them go, like that you're watching clouds in the sky and you go, oh, there's one, there one, here it comes, okay, it's off over there. They move. They don't stand still. Same as feelings. They are all moving. To feel a feeling, it has to move in the body, which is why often movement can make you feel better, because you can move from a stagnant, oh, don't feel good feeling, and get a different feeling. And moving the body really helps with that. So people say often they feel much better when they get the endorphins hit of doing exercise or walking or bicycling or whatever it is. Getting a relationship with your thoughts, knowing that they cannot run your life, although many people do. Let's talk about inner dialogue. So we have a narrative running in the head. Oh, you silly soul for doing that. Or you silly person. Or, oh, you always do that. Or really putting yourself down with your self-talk. Self-talk is one of the most important tools that we can use to make life better. When we change our self-talk, we change our lives. Fastest way. How do I know this? Because I spent years learning all about how to change what we think in my days of a neuro-linguistic practitioner working really at top level with the guy who invented NLP. I learned that we are not our thoughts and that we generate and create these ideas that come in and they aren't even real. So don't put too much emphasis on them. Let them go and switch them for a better feeling, better thought.
What does the process of doing that look like? Because I can imagine for somebody that's very much trapped into a negative mindset of this won't work, I'm so silly. And then it almost seems like you're trying to force yourself into I am good enough, I'm awesome. And it sounds so fake, where the first tiny roadblock that you hit, you're like, see, we were right, you're not able to do that. We were telling the truth before and now you're onto it. So it seems like something that you have to keep working at and chipping away at maybe every day.
Yeah, and some people, we all know people who are their default position is negative. Others, their default position is positive. The thing is to notice that and to notice that you have power around that, and you can train yourself. If you notice this monkey mind, I like to call it. If you notice the monkey mind come in, you go, "Oh, I see you. I'm going to change you now," and you literally change your attention and put it on something else that makes you feel better, and you hold it there for 7 seconds, and that will be enough to kind of retrain you. We do have these loops that run, and the good news is that we are in control. We are the mixing desk operators of our mental realms. So we are in charge of what we're thinking about. No one else is. People go, "Oh yeah, but I feel really, really bad." That's your responsibility to sort that one out. No one else can. You are the only one who can think in your head your thoughts, and they are your thoughts. So if you want to live a spectacular life, improve your life, go from feeling shitty to better, take a look at the thoughts and push them like you've got them. I think of it as a mixing desk. I've spent with my music and rock and roll background, I've spent a lot of time in studios, and I see how tracks are recorded and then they'll mix them. They'll put a bit of bass on that, put a bit of treble on that. Do that with your thoughts. I think of my thought machine here as having a mixing desk, and I will mix better tracks, and that kind of makes sense to me. Mix good tracks in your mind. Play out, oh yeah, actually I'm really lucky. And what you're referring to is affirmations that people say day in, day out to themselves. Eventually your unconscious takes that as true. Your unconscious takes what you program it with. So this unconscious mind we all have is the most sophisticated computer on the planet. And we are modeling with it, and we are putting the software in, and we are training it. A bit like AI, you're as good as your prompts. So prompt yourself to do really well. Okay, so you could, for example, say, okay, today I want to write scripts that are all about how fantastic I am, or how successful I am, or how kind I am. That's what I want to do with my script today. Tell your mind, and it loves an instruction, by the way. You know, it really does. We instruct it often with stuff that's we're not even noticing we're doing it. And for example, in families, there's often, I spoke to a friend this morning, he said, "Oh, in my family, my dad is always about everything's running out. There are no abundant aspects to life. It's always, you have to grip hold because you never know, everything's going to go, and we never have enough money, and never have enough money." And if you kept saying that, your unconscious will believe it and will give you examples to prove that to you. So it's better to have a better mantra or a better narrative running about abundance and health and joy and happiness. And when you do that, what will happen is, by this law of attraction that happens with ideas and thoughts, it will bring more of that quality to your life. This is not namby-pamby woo-woo. This is scientifically proven now. We've got great scientists, Greg Braden, Joe Dispenza, all of these people talking about, who've done the work of research, know that this is correct. In the physics of the universe, this is how it works. One idea attracts another idea of a similar frequency. So the best way to live life is to keep it really good. And how do you know high frequency? Because it feels good. How do you know about low frequency? Because it feels bad. You feel bad. I was with someone this morning who was making me feel really bad, and I just had to get away. I was like, oh, I'm going. And how did I know she was low frequency? Because she was making me feel bad and kind of enjoying it, and I didn't want that, so I left. It's these kind of things we have to take control of life. We can't change others, and by changing ourselves, we do change many things, including the kind of people that we attract into our lives, the kind of friendships we have, and so on. So it all begins with us and the energy of what we're carrying. And you can transmute energy. If you have energy present that is not comfortable, you can transmute that. There are techniques for doing this. And for example, just quickly, you notice where the feeling is. Say it's here. So this is where you're feeling bad, and you close your eyes so that you can really concentrate on what's going on inside yourself. You notice the feeling and you can label it. You go, that's not feeling so good. So you feel it, you notice it, you acknowledge it, and then you give it an instruction and ask it to move and go and replace it with something else. Now, as I said before, the body and the mind and the energy is very receptive to instructions and demands and commands. So you ask that energy to move, and you ask for it to be replaced by another, more improved energy. And I find this technique really works. There's a bit more to it than this, and I don't want to go into it here, but if you're interested in this, take a look around at these different aspects of transmuting energy. It's very interesting, and it goes way back to old magic. This is what the old magicians were doing, was moving energy and transmuting it into better stuff. And the old stories of converting things to gold or whatever, this alchemy is based upon transmutation of energies. Is that possible? Yes, it is. Learn how to do it, and your life changes. It really does. I'd love it if people connect. Go onto my website, which is susiepearl.com, and sign up to my mailing list, and there you'll receive updates of what's going on and learn about my new books and things. And also I use Instagram a lot, so find me there and say hi. And I talk about many things that we've just spoken about, but mainly I'm about consciousness, wellness, health, and living a good life. That's what I like to talk about. So yeah, I hope that if you've enjoyed listening to this, do get in touch, and we'll spend more time talking.